We all think about the future, don't we? I mean, whether it's just the plan for today or, those big long-term dreams, where you want to end up. But have you ever really paused and thought, how much control do I actually have over that direction? That's really the core question we're digging into today.
Yeah, our mission for this deep dive is to unpack this whole relationship between actively looking ahead, staying optimistic, and then this really interesting, sometimes tricky role of luck versus pure effort in how things turn out, trying to figure out where planning meets, well, chance.
Exactly. And to help us explore that, we've gathered some really compelling sources. We've got a systematic review looking at future-oriented thinking and success in academics. Then there's this fascinating online debate we found, all about luck versus hard work. Plus, a pretty comprehensive look at optimism psychologically, philosophically, and even a critical piece on self-help. So the goal is really to unpack all these different angles, pull out the key insights, and help you understand what's genuinely at play as you navigate your own future. Okay, sounds great. Let's jump right into that first piece, future-oriented thinking. It sounds, well, deeper than just daydreaming, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Much deeper.
So what does it actually involve?
Well, it's a pretty broad cognitive skill. It's really about our ability, uniquely human, I think, to generate these mental pictures of what might happen, projecting ourselves into these hypothetical futures.
Right, like imagining giving a big speech.
Exactly. Or maybe something closer to home, like really picturing yourself getting a great mark on a university assignment. It's all fundamentally tied to how we set goals and, manage our own behavior.
Okay, so if we're doing this mental rehearsal, what does that actually mean for, say, getting results, especially in something like academics?
Yeah, well, that systematic review we looked at, published in Frontiers back in 2023, found a really clear link. People who are more future-oriented, they tend to show higher levels of academic engagement and better performance, like literally higher GPAs.
Yeah.
It suggests that guiding students, or anyone really, towards seeing that future goal can boost both their drive and their results.
Huh, that makes a lot of sense. So if I can genuinely picture myself achieving something, it's not just a nice thought, it actually makes me more likely to go for it.
Precisely. The research backs this up. Repeatedly mentally simulating a future event actually increases how likely you think that event is to happen.
Ah.
And that belief, that sense of, I can attain this, is positively correlated with engagement and self-efficacy.
Mhm.
And those are factors consistently linked to positive academic outcomes, and probably outcomes elsewhere too.
So your brain kind of struggles to tell the difference between vivid imagination and reality.
Kind of, yeah. You can use that. Consistently rehearsing the future you want helps make it feel more real, more achievable.
Interesting. Now, what about the goals themselves? The source mentions short-term versus long-term. How important is that timing?
Oh, it plays a big role. Short-term goals like, okay, I'm going to study for 2 hours today, they're usually easier, less cognitive effort needed, they're more concrete, and you get that satisfaction quicker.
Right, instant gratification, almost.
Almost. Whereas long-term goals, in 5 years I'll be a registered psychologist, those are much more abstract. They require sustained effort because the reward is way down the line. Much harder to stick with sometimes.
And you mentioned self-efficacy. That seems related to another term in the sources, goal self-congruence. What's that about?
Right, goal self-congruence. It's basically the degree to which the goal you're working towards actually fits with how you see yourself, your core values, your identity.
Ah, okay. If it feels authentic.
Exactly. When goals align with your personal values,
Yeah.
they're just more effective. They're more likely to meet those deeper psychological needs. So that congruence, that alignment with your desired future state is really critical for motivating you to do the hard yards needed to get there.
So zooming out a bit, how does this future thinking actually help us? Is it just feeling good, or are there practical benefits when things get tough?
Oh, definitely practical benefits. It seems to promote several adaptive functions. Firstly, it really enhances strategic planning. If you visualize potential roadblocks,
You can plan for them.
exactly, you can figure out solutions in advance, which makes setbacks less disruptive.
Yeah.
Secondly, it acts as a buffer against goal disengagement.
Giving up, basically.
Yeah, giving up when things get hard. And maybe most importantly, it just gives your motivation a significant boost.
And what about that idea of visualizing an optimal self versus a feared self? That sounds quite intense.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
It's from Marcus and Neurius. They argue that actively visualizing the best possible version of yourself.
It's absolute ideal.
Right. And then contrasting that with a feared self, the version you really, really don't want to become. That contrast creates this powerful push-pull. It really ramps up the effort and engagement towards making that optimal future happen.
Okay, this feels like something you could actually work on, develop. Are there practical ways to measure this or even like train yourself to be more future-oriented?
Yes, definitely. The literature points towards two main ways, really. First, you can measure it as an orientation. There are tools like the Zimbardo Time Perspective Inventory that assess if you're generally focused on the past, present, or future. And studies, like one by Adelabu back in 2008, showed future-oriented students did better academically.
Right.
Second, you could use it as an intervention. Strategies like mental contrasting with implementation intentions, or MCII, that helps you visualize the future, identify the steps, and anticipate the
Oh,
obstacles.
that sounds practical.
Another one is the possible selves intervention, where you might write about your best possible future self and then think about how likely it feels.
You know, one point that really jumped out from the report was that just visualizing academic success isn't enough.
Oh, absolutely crucial point.
Unless it's linked with actual realistic strategies. That seems key.
Totally. Oyserman and colleagues found this back in 2006. It was only the students who put strategies in place, like preparing for class, setting study schedules.
The practical stuff.
Right, the practical stuff alongside the visualization. They were the ones who saw improvements in initiative, test scores, even fewer absences. It really underlines the organization aspect. It's not just dreaming. It's structured, strategic visualization that actually leads to doing things differently.
Got it. So it's wishful thinking plus a plan.
Pretty much, yeah. Actionable visualization.
Okay, let's pivot slightly. How does optimism weave into this picture? Is it just, having a generally sunny outlook?
Well, it's a bit more nuanced than just being sunny all the time.
Huh.
Psychologically speaking, optimism is more about the mindset of expecting positive outcomes.
The classic glass half full idea.
Exactly. That's often called dispositional optimism.
Yeah.
It's this sort of underlying belief that generally things will work out for the best, and that really helps build resilience.
Now, the Wikipedia source mentioned dispositional optimism, but also explanatory style. How are those different?
Good question. They're related but distinct. Dispositional optimism, like we said, is that general expectation of good things, often measured by things like the life orientation test. Explanatory style, though, is about how you explain the specific events that happened to you, why they happened.
Ah, the story you tell yourself.
Precisely. So an optimist might attribute a success internally, stably, and globally. I succeeded because I'm skilled, always will be, and it helps everywhere. A pessimist might do the opposite for failures. I failed because I'm unskilled, always will be, and it affects everything. So one's a general outlook, the other's about how you interpret specific causes.
Okay, so where does this optimism come from? Is it just luck of the draw, genetically? Or can you actually learn to be more optimistic?
It seems to be a mix. Twin studies suggest there's a moderate genetic component, maybe around 25% for dispositional optimism. So it's got some stability, like a personality trait.
Okay, so partly baked in.
Partly. But it's also strongly shaped by our environment, especially our family upbringing seems to play a role. And yeah, many theories do assume optimism can be learned. Research suggests family environment has a modest but definitely present influence.
And the benefits. Beyond just feeling a bit better, the sources hinted at some pretty major advantages.
They are quite compelling. Optimism is, well, moderately correlated with better health outcomes. We're talking maybe 5–10% of the variation in things like cardiovascular issues, stroke risk, even depression.
Wow.
Optimists generally report less distress. They seem to have stronger immune responses. They recover faster from things like surgery. And they even tend to live longer, on average.
And lifestyle choices, too.
Yeah, that seems connected.
Yeah.
They're more likely to make healthier choices, smoke less, exercise more, eat more fruits and vegetables.
That's really quite powerful. But the big question is, can we actively cultivate it? Or is it just too deeply set once we're adults?
That's definitely the challenge. Some of the research is a bit mixed on whether psychological interventions can fundamentally shift that deep-seated optimism enough to, say, change the course of a major illness. But there is the whole concept of learned optimism.
Right, challenging negative thoughts.
Exactly. The idea that by actively disputing negative self-talk, by overcoming that feeling of learned helplessness, you can shift your outlook significantly. Though it's important to add a note of caution here about toxic positivity.
Ah, yes, the pressure to always be happy.
Right. Shoving down difficult feelings isn't healthy optimism. True optimism acknowledges the challenges but maintains hope. It's grounded in reality.
This whole idea of optimism and facing reality definitely touches on deeper philosophical ideas, too. What did thinkers like Leibniz say about this? The best of all possible worlds.
Leibniz. Yes, that's a cornerstone of philosophical optimism. His argument was, basically, that a perfect God could only create the best possible world, even if we humans, with our limited view, can't always see why it's the best, especially amidst suffering.
Which Voltaire famously took issue with.
Famously skewered, yeah, in Candide. He labeled it Panglossianism, finding it pretty hard to square with awful events like the Lisbon earthquake. Just seemed naive in the face of such tragedy.
So if that's seen as naive, is optimalism a more modern, perhaps more realistic philosophical take?
Yes, I think so. You have Nicholas Risher's philosophical optimalism, which suggests the universe exists because it's simply better than the alternatives, no deity required. But maybe more useful for us is psychological optimism, defined by Tal Ben-Shahar.
Okay, what's that?
It's about accepting failure as inevitable, as part of learning, while still remaining confident that success is possible, that it will follow. It's the opposite of that negative perfectionism where you chase impossible standards and are terrified of failure.
So learning from mistakes instead of being crushed by them.
Exactly. Optimalists learn from setbacks. They're driven by intrinsic motivation, by the process itself. It's not about blind faith that things are good, but striving to make things as good as they can be given the reality of the situation.
Right. A realistic striving. Okay. So we've covered thinking ahead, we've covered optimism, but now the big one, luck. That Reddit thread we looked at made a pretty bold statement. Most of life's outcomes depend more on luck or chance than hard work or skill. That's quite a claim.
It is a strong claim, and it definitely sparked a lively debate, as you can imagine. The user who posted it pointed to research showing, look, but talent and luck matter. But luck brings in these random fluctuations, and it can have a really substantial impact, even if you're incredibly talented. Though, interestingly, that same research also noted that over a longer period, the effects of luck tend to kind of even out, and talent becomes more dominant.
Huh. That's a crucial distinction, isn't it? The original poster on Reddit seemed to interpret that as luck having less influence long-term compared to short-term, not necessarily less influence than talent overall. It's subtle.
It is subtle, yeah. But the core idea from the research that resonated was the sheer unpredictability introduced by external factors. That really stuck with people.
So, digging into that Reddit thread, what were some of the main arguments people made for luck being the bigger factor, especially early on in life?
Well, a lot of it centered on things completely outside anyone's control. Factors that act as massive constraints right from the start. Things like being born with a significant disability, or into deep poverty, or, crucially, in a country with very limited opportunities or infrastructure.
Right, the circumstance of your birth.
Exactly. One user, Arturovich, posed that question. Why has there never been a decent NBA or soccer player from India? His point being, you can work incredibly hard, but if the environment, the genetics, the whole system isn't there,
It might not be enough.
it might not be enough. And the original poster, Cold Entry 3043, hit hard with that statistic. 80% of the world lives outside developed nations. Just being born in a wealthier country is, statistically, a huge slice of luck.
And what about the idea you can actually succeed without hard work? Just pure luck.
Yeah, that came up too. Obvious examples like winning the lottery, or inheriting a fortune, or getting a massive settlement. Those are significant life-altering events that require zero personal effort. And the flip side was argued too. One piece of really bad luck, a serious accident, a natural disaster, wiping out your home, can completely negate decades of hard graft.
Oof, yeah. But surely people push back hard. What were the main arguments championing hard work and skill?
Oh, absolutely. A strong counter-argument emerged. Many people said, okay, maybe luck opens the door, gives you an opportunity.
But you still have to walk through it.
Exactly. Hard work is what you need to make it worth something, to actually capitalize on it. And this interesting idea came up. Maximizing your exposure to luck.
What does that mean?
It means consciously putting yourself in situations where good things might happen. Choosing to go to that industry event instead of staying home. Starting the risky venture instead of taking the safe job. You're increasing the odds of a lucky break.
So it's like positioning yourself to catch the lucky wave if it comes.
Precisely. Someone quoted that old line, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. Preparation being the hard work part. Others pointed out that you need skill even to manage luck. Like winning the lottery is luck, but not blowing it all in 6 months requires budgeting skills, discipline, which comes from effort. The overall feeling was, yeah, luck sets boundaries, it throws curveballs, but persistent work is how you maximize success within those boundaries.
There's also that really interesting point linking work to societal value. Work that benefits others is valued and rewarded.
Yes, that really added another layer. A user said something like, work itself has no inherent value. It only has value in a society. Work that helps others gets rewarded, work that doesn't. The bigger the impact, the bigger the reward.
So it connects your effort to what the community actually needs or wants.
Exactly. It moves beyond just your effort in isolation and considers its effect on the world around you. Are you solving a problem people care about?
Fascinating. It really drives home that it's rarely just one thing, isn't it? Luck or work. It's always this complex dance between them. Okay, so we've looked at actively planning for the future, the role of optimism, and this whole messy, complex interplay of luck and hard work. How do we bring this all together? How can someone listening use these ideas to navigate their own path forward?
Well, I think it really comes back to focusing on what you can influence versus what you can't. It reminds me of that line from the Serenity Prayer.
Yes. The serenity to accept the things I cannot change.
The courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. That really encapsulates it, I think. Future-oriented thinking, developing optimism, these are powerful internal tools you have control over. You can actively set goals, you can strategize, you can visualize, you can cultivate that mindset that expects good things, even while acknowledging that, yes, the random fluctuations of luck are always out there.
And that connects to Julian Baggini's point about philosophy and self-help, doesn't it? That real thinking isn't just about feeling better or hitting your current targets. It asks deeper questions. What does it actually mean for a life to go well? And that might even lead you to change your goals completely.
Precisely. This whole deep dive, it isn't about offering some simple formula for success. It's about fostering a more nuanced understanding. Remember Auguste Comte's idea of connaissance approche? Approximate knowledge.
Right, that science gets closer to truth but never reaches absolute certainty.
Exactly. And maybe our understanding of our own lives is like that too. It suggests that embracing a certain amount of uncertainty, accepting we don't have all the answers, is actually part of truly understanding how things work. It's an ongoing process.
That's a really helpful way to frame it. And Comte's later ideas, the dominance of the heart, regulated the inside through the outside, that seems like a powerful way to integrate these concepts practically.
It really does. His belief was that our feelings, our affections, while powerful, can be kind of chaotic. The outside, meaning external reality, the order science shows us in the world, can act as a discipline. It can help guide those feelings, especially towards altruism.
A term he actually coined.
He did.
Yeah.
So it means directing that future thinking, that optimism, not just for your own benefit, but towards contributing something larger, something good for society. It emphasizes that reason and planning the mind should ultimately serve our better impulses, our heart, driving us toward a life that makes a difference.
So using your internal tools, foresight, optimism, but using them wisely, grounded in reality, and maybe directed towards something bigger than just yourself.
Yes, exactly. And his view on time itself was fascinating, too. He saw it not as past, present, future, but past, future, present.
Seeing the present as just this fleeting link.
This vague and fleeting span connecting the two immensities of past and future. It really puts the emphasis back on the significance of where you're headed, the future you're building.
Wow, what an incredible journey through these ideas. We've really seen how actively looking ahead with purpose and clarity and combining that with a realistic, grounded optimism, how that can genuinely impact your engagement, your performance, your whole approach.
Absolutely. And yet we've also had to grapple with those undeniable, unpredictable currents of luck. You know, from where you start in life to those completely unexpected chances or setbacks. But the conversation really seemed to land on the idea that hard work, strategic action, persistence, that's how you navigate those currents. That's how you maximize your potential within whatever situation you find yourself.
So as you, listening, reflect on your own path, what resonates most? Is it the diligent planning? Is it cultivating that deep belief in positive outcomes? Or maybe it's more about recognizing the vastness of what's outside your control and learning to skillfully navigate, to seize the opportunities that do arise. And here's a final thought to leave you with. If, as Comte suggested, humanity itself is the most dependent of all beings, relying on the contributions of its parts, how might actively imagining and working towards an optimal future self, not just for you, but for the collective, for the community around you, how might that fundamentally shift your definition of success and maybe even your sense of purpose in the world?